So today's video that I was putting up was supposed to be a Throwback Thursday. Now this is not a Throwback Thursday. There is a reason for that. I was personally requested by a friend of mine who I actually did her bridal makeup a few months back. I was requested to do a makeup for people that don't generally wear makeup kind of video. She is not really one that wears a lot of makeup. If you have ever done makeup for somebody for their wedding, truth be told, love you, Kim, it was really difficult to do someone like her's makeup for her wedding just because they generally they're not used to seeing themselves wearing makeup. So putting a ton of makeup for a certain occasion like that onto someone that doesn't generally wear it all the time is fairly difficult just because you don't know if they're gonna love it, you don't know if they're gonna hate it, like you don't know if they're gonna be like, oh, that doesn't look like me. It's very difficult. But for someone like her who, you know, approached me and said, hey, look, I got this job, I have to wear makeup at it, I really have no idea what I'm doing, you know, do I go to Sephora, do I go to MAC, what do I do? Basically I was like, whoa, pause. Put the brakes on, because the problem with that is it's great to recommend really high-end stuff to someone. However, if they generally don't wear makeup, if they are not used to wearing makeup, say you're a teenager and you're just getting into makeup, this is for you too. It's really difficult to recommend to someone to go buy the top of the line kind of stuff when I feel like they're not going to get their money's worth out of it. If they're not doing their makeup every day, if they're not doing it crazy up and over the moon kind of nuts makeup, then that might not be their style. If they just need a little bit something to kind of bump up their look, make themselves look done, more presentable, more put together for a work type environment, then what I do in the tutorial is more for you. Now this tutorial is using all drugstore products except for one, which I did recommend to my friend to go get at Sephora, and that is Too Faced Shadow Insurance. If I can recommend one like high-end kind of product to anybody, it is Too Faced Shadow Insurance. Reason being, yes, it is $18. However, it is an amazing eyeshadow primer. I have sworn by this for about 5 years now. And in that 5 years, I believe this is my third tube. Like, no joke. Third tube in 5 years. The first tube lasted me over a year, and that was using it every single day. And then the second tube lasted me about 2 years. Because, you know, like I have other primers and whatnot that I, you know, would change out here and there. But ultimately when it comes down to it, I always come back to this stuff. I love the consistency, I love the smoothness of it, I love the packaging, and I love the fact that you only need to use a teeny tiny little bit on each eye. So if I can recommend one high-end product out of this entire thing, it would be Too Faced Shadow Insurance. Everything else though that I use in this tutorial is Drugstore, from the foundation, which is the CoverGirl Ready Set Gorgeous, down to the Maybelline Nudes palette. I even use an e.l.f. bronzer, and of course Drugstore mascara. So yeah, basically, and I kind of briefly go over brushes and stuff like that. So basically, if you need a little bit of guidance in the drugstore makeup realm, this is be for you. Now obviously I've entitled this Girls Who Go Commando for that reason, meaning it's not what you think. Meaning girls that generally don't wear a whole lot of makeup, that usually get a, you know, shower, maybe do their hair, and leave the house, that don't necessarily need makeup, but if they have kind of put themselves into an environment where they need to start doing makeup, this is for you guys. And thank you, Kim, by the way, for this recommendation, and also for the inspiration for the title, because I literally laughed out loud when you told me to entitle it that way. So basically, keep watching if you'd like to see how to do an entire drugstore makeup look. Alright, so to start with my foundation, I first like to prime my skin. Now if your skin isn't very oily or it's kind of normal and it holds up throughout the day, then you don't really need to do this. But if you're going to work or something like that where you need it to hold up, I suggest using a primer. Now this is the Real Colors Porcelain Skin Pore Vanishing Primer. I got this one from Sally Beauty Supply, honestly, and I actually really, really like it. Now, that's not necessarily saying that the next time you go to Sally's it's going to be there, because that's exactly what happened with me. They had it on like a display, I bought it, and sure enough the next time I could not find it. So, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but some sort of primer. Sephora does sell certain kind of primers, so do drugstore brands. But this is just the one that I've been liking to use. So I just take a little bit, and then just kind of put it all over my face. I even put some under the eyes. Just make sure that it's all even and smooth. Alright, so for my foundation, now I didn't just go out and buy this for the video. I've actually been using this and I really do like it. It's the CoverGirl Ready Set Gorgeous Fresh Complexion Foundation, and I'm in the color 110, which is the second one. But what's really, really nice about this stuff is the fact that 2 little ones of these dots should do your whole face. So I usually use just a flat top kabuki. You can use a foundation brush, you can use a sponge, your fingers, whatever works for you. But that's kind of the purpose of this video, is the fact that it's like you don't have to use every single specific product or brush that someone tells you to. And it's like, that's what I feel like a lot of people that watch some of these, not necessarily just my videos, but watch some of these videos or whatever, think is like, oh well, I can't do this if I don't have these brushes, or I don't have this because all I have is drugstore foundation. No, you can easily do a great look with drugstore products. And the coverage on this foundation is actually really awesome too, so that definitely helps. My hair out of the way here. So now, if you have a specific type of concealer that you like, you can easily use that. The nice part about this foundation is that it is buildable. So if you just take the foundation and a little bit on your middle finger or your ring finger, what have you, you can easily build it up as concealer. Like right there, I feel like I need a little extra coverage. Now this is all depending on your skin type. I personally don't have that many blemishes that I need to cover, so I've actually been finding that just doing a layer of foundation has been working for me lately. But obviously if you have breakouts and redness and extra acne scarring and whatnot that you need to cover, then that kind of goes without saying that you might need a little bit of extra coverage. Everybody's skin is different, so I'm just kind of letting you know this is what works for me right now. So then as far as a setting powder goes, I've been using the CoverGirl translucent powder, and this is just in light, the 105. And what I like to do is I'll just use like a small powder brush, tap off any extra, and set the smaller areas using this brush. So like in here, your nose, and then kind of around your lips as well. That way, when you go in with your big powder brush, all those little tiny areas that might get kind of passed over and but might need a little bit more setting are actually already set. Alright, so then once you have your face done, you can move on to your eyes. Now, when my friend asked me the other day what I recommended to her to get at Sephora, I told her to get a good eyeshadow primer. And she was like, but Brianna, what is that? And I basically just kind of explained it does help prevent creasing. It helps your eyeshadow go on smoother and helps it last a lot longer. So the one thing that I do always recommend to people, I haven't been able to find a drugstore type brand that I actually did like that's an eyeshadow primer, but the one that I've sworn by for about 5 years now is the Too Faced Shadow Insurance. You can get it at Sephora. It does run $18. However, a tube of this roughly lasts me about a year, if not longer. And that's with doing my makeup every single day. So that says a lot. So that's one thing that I always tell people, go get Too Faced Shadow Insurance. It's amazing. And you only need teeny tiny bit for each eye. Alright, so the eyeshadow that I'm going to be using, it's the Maybelline Nudes palette. It comes with 12 eyeshadows, and they're all in like the nude neutral spectrum, which is really great if you only do your makeup for work. At least then that way you have your entire neutral, work appropriate, you know, spectrum covered, and you don't really have to have a ton of makeup or spend a ton of makeup. Spend a ton of money on a ton of makeup. So these are really good colors, so I'm actually quite surprised that they're drugstore. So basically I'm gonna do something funky, but like still the average. Like I said, this is a demo video. So I'm gonna take this gold right here. And then one of these paddle brushes that you guys see me use all the time if you watch my videos, these are actually from Michael's Craft Store. So you don't have to spend a crap ton of money on eyeshadow brushes. Like I said, I got these from Michael's, and I've actually been using these for about 2 years or so. They just work really well, so. So I just get the color on, slip it right onto the lid, but still using the kind of edge to blend this out as well. That's what's nice about these brushes. So then I take a crease brush. You can get one, you can try to find one of these that's kind of shaped like this from Michael's or from AC Moore, what have you, or you can go to Sephora, Sally's. Sally's is the cheaper option. This is a MAC one. MAC brushes are not cheap, but I've also had this for about 3 years. So they do last a long time. So that's one thing that I will say. So I'm just going to take this shade right at the end here as my crease color. And it helps if you tilt your head backwards, because if you tilt your head backwards, you know it's a lot easier to put the color right into that orbital bone. That's where your crease should be. If you tilt your head down, you can risk actually putting the color up too high or it bleeding down onto your main lid color. So it does help if you tilt your head backwards. Especially if you're filming it like me, it's a lot easier to see over my viewfinder in the mirror behind me, but that's beside the point. So then I like to take a brush like this. It's kind of like a big fat brush. And I'm going to take the third color in, this one. It's about my skin tone, just a little bit cleaner, I guess. And then I just go right up under the brow bone and soften any edges that that crease color may have. Filming. Okay, thank you. Alright, so then I can take a pencil brush. I have a couple of them that I like to use, both of which I think I've purchased from Target. The white one, looks like this. It's from e.l.f., which they do sell at Target. I think it's maybe like $1.99, something like that. And then the other one, I forget what brand it was, but it's just one of their many makeup brushes that they sell there. And it looks like that. Like I said, I've had both of these for a couple of years and they work really, really well. This one is a little bit easier to move, so it can blend while you apply the color, whereas this one's a little stiffer, so that's more for just applying the color. So I will actually show you how to use both. So basically what I'm going to do is first with as the sponge falls out, first with the stiffer brush, I'm going to take this darker gold and just place that right in the crease. Kind of more so to just apply the color. And then with the other brush, I'm going to take the one directly below it, which is kind of this brown, and put it on the very, very edge and just kind of sweep it in. Then with a blending brush. Now, you can get these, again, from Target. I honestly suggest going to Target for good brushes. Sonia Kashuk makes a really good brush set that's fairly inexpensive. But a blending brush is very, very similar to a crease brush, only you can see this one's just slightly fluffier. And I like to use one that's very, very fluffy for blending everything out, just because it doesn't apply color. I actually never, ever, ever put direct color on this brush. I only use it for blending. So you just kind of go around the edges, kind of right where it meets. Now obviously if you're doing color, you don't necessarily want to do this if you're trying to have like defined color, but with neutral colors it's good to have it all blended and nice. So then I'm just going to take a little shader brush, which kind of looks like that, and sometimes I'll actually use this in lieu of putting liner underneath my eyes. Sometimes I just don't feel like I need that, but I just like to do the shadow. So basically I'm going to take the two golds that I used earlier. I'm going to put the lighter golds on the inner half of my lid, and then I'm going to blend it into the darker gold that I used earlier. Now, as far as liner and stuff goes, I know some people prefer black, some people prefer brown. Honestly, I suggest having both. It's one of those things where it really depends on what kind of look you're going for. Obviously, if you're looking for something more dramatic, black works. If you're looking for something more subtle, brown works. As I said, it really kind of depends on what all you're going for. But the one that I'm using today is CoverGirl Ink It. And it's really cool. It's one of the twist up kind of creamy liners. But it's blendable. I've actually used like an angle brush and stuff to kind of blend it out before, but it also does set really quick, and it also holds up a lot, like a long time as well. Zoom in so that way I can see what I'm doing. For whatever reason, I'm better at doing liner on this eye than that eye, and go figure, I think it's because I'm filming when I do it, but whatever. So today, sometimes I will, let me zoom out quick for you. So sometimes I will do my waterline on the bottom. It really, like I said, it all depends on what kind of look you're going for. But one thing that I always like to do, just because my lashes are already very dark, and then I will put liner on, is I will tight line the upper part of my waterline. Now, if you're not familiar with how to do this, or you're not very comfortable doing it, you can omit it. Again, it's all personal preference, but I will teach you how to do it just now. And I'm using same Ink It eyeliner. So basically the trick is to look away in another direction. And then it just kind of gets up into that little space there that otherwise would be flesh colored, and I really don't like that to be showing. But basically it really helps make your lashes look a lot fuller at the base just by that. Like, I don't even have mascara on and it already looks like I do. But I also have very dark lashes on my own. So okay, moving on. Speaking of lashes, a lash curler. Lash curler is essential. Again, $4 or $5. Depends. Obviously, the more money you pay, the better quality it's going to be. But in all reality, they all do the same things, so I don't understand why you'd pay $20 for a lash curler versus like $5. I don't know. Whatever. But this is a Revlon one. Again, I think I purchased it at Target. So the way that I like to curl my lashes is I start at the base, squeeze 3 times, move up a little bit, squeeze 3 times, go to the end, squeeze 3 times. So it just creates a nice natural curl versus like a crimped L. And again. Then as far as your mascara goes, I'm using Maybelline Falsies Volume Express mascara. But in order to kind of get length and definition, you don't want to like keep applying and applying and applying, because that's how you get spider lashes and it's not cute. You start at the base, wiggle as you go up. And sometimes you have a random piece of lash that likes to hang out. So that was one coat. I usually do like to do 2 coats on the upper lashes. Again, it really depends on your personal preference. If you prefer less mascara, go on with your bad self. They even sell brown mascara. I personally use black mascara just because my lashes are already very, very dark. So brown mascara or even any kind of like funky colored mascara really wouldn't show up on me. So it defeats the purpose otherwise. So I always get black mascara just kind of as a rule of thumb. I feel like if you are going for the fuller look for lashes, then black mascara would be the way to go. But again, it's personal preference. So then moving on to your cheeks and the rest of your face. Bronzer and blush is one of those things that are kind of essential. Now you can use, like I personally every day for my regular bronzer, I use a more shimmery bronzer all over, and then I use a matte contour color just kind of in the hollows of my cheeks to define my nose and then around my temples. But I can understand why purchasing an entirely separate bronzer for that would be a little inconducive, especially if you really don't have a ton of money, which I completely understand. The only reason that I really use this tiny little one every day, you can see it's like a cardboard thing, it's because it was one of those 100-point perks from Sephora, and that's just what I picked. And you know what? If I only use it as my contour, I'm gonna have that thing forever. But that being said, e.l.f. Cosmetics, again, sold at Target, or I'll even put the link to the e.l.f. website below. They sell this contouring blush and bronzer duo. Now it comes with a blush and a bronzer, and they have actually said that this blush rivals NARS Orgasm. It's very, very similar in color, and you'll see that. Now this bronzer does have a little bit of shimmer, but it's not too overboard. So I'll just kind of go ahead and show you. I'm using my everyday bronzer brush, just kind of tapping it in there. Sweeping on my face. Now if you're okay with being pale or you don't really feel like you need bronzer, then you can completely omit this step and just kind of contour. But it really kind of all depends on you, obviously. I am extremely pale all year round, so I kind of need just a little bit of help. And then I take my everyday contour brush. Once again, this is from MAC, but you can kind of use what works for you. Any kind of small angled brush that can kind of fit right into that hollow works out really, really well. I'll put a link below to a couple brush sets on Amazon. I love Amazon, by the way. I've purchased several brush sets from there, so I'll go ahead and put a link below to all that as well. And I will do an entire video on contouring and whatnot. This just kind of shows you. If you really want to know where the hollows of your cheeks are to kind of contour, if you suck in like fish face, right there is where it should go. Now mind you, my cheeks stick out a little bit wider, so it doesn't really show you, but kind of right in that temple. So just kind of go from your ear and downward. And I don't really carry it farther than like right there. And I usually kind of blend in buff as I go. And the trick is, don't start with too much product. You can always add more, you can't really take away. I'm gonna go up my nose. A little bit in my hairline. Then for blush, again, I'm going to be using the blush in that duo, and just with my blush brush. So I start at the apples of my cheeks very, very lightly and just kind of sweep outward. Now I always put a little bit of blush just on my nose, a little bit on my chin, and then a little bit on my forehead. Not so much to add color, just more so to even out the face. Alright, so that is face. As far as lips go, so many lip glosses to choose from. Really, it's all personal preference, as I've been saying this entire time. If you don't feel comfortable using a super bright lip gloss, you don't have to. You can use a nude, you can use chapstick for all I care. It's really kind of all personal preference. Like I said, if you're working in a place that, you know, you need to be done, then that's perfectly fine. But I prefer just standard lip gloss, honestly. This one's from Revlon. It's one of their Color Burst lip glosses. This is in Orchid. So yeah, that's basically it. It has a little bit of color, just kind of makes your lip, like my lips, very kind of washed out. If you have a natural like color to your lips, it's not that big of a deal. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot to do something. It would not be one of my videos if I forgot to do something. Brows. Now, if your brows are either very light, which my friend that requested this videos are, I'm so sorry, Kim, I cannot believe I completely forgot to do this part. Brow pencils. Brow pencils are amazing. Maybelline New York does make Define a Brow. CoverGirl makes them. Revlon makes them. I've got a million and one brow products in here. Yeah, Revlon, another Maybelline one, NYX one. So lots and lots of brow products. But basically this is just Maybelline in light brown. Now you can kind of see my eyebrows are a little bit of like an ash blonde color. That's perfectly fine, but I usually try to kind of go for something that matches my hair. Not so much the blonde element of my hair, more so the more natural tone that's in my hair, just because that's very similar to what my roots are. So it's simple. You just kind of twist up the product, and I do short little strokes so that it mimics brow hairs. And I generally won't do like the entire brow so that it looks drawn on. I'll just do them very lightly, so then that way they just look like they're a little bit more toned in color. So yeah, then you have that. Once again, so sorry that I forgot to do that in the whole process of the video. I literally was looking for lip gloss and I saw the brow pencil sitting there and I'm like, I forgot to do something. So yeah, that is basically it. I hope that that helps some of you. It really bothers me when people just think, oh, well, I'm 14 or I'm in my 20s, but I don't really wear makeup that often. Do I have to go spend a fortune on good makeup just to be able to do my makeup for work and look pretty and feel good about myself? And, you know, in all reality, you really don't. I personally would rather recommend good products that I feel like are good products, that are drugstore products that don't cost an arm and a leg, versus recommending something that's super high-end, that, truth be told, doesn't really fit into somebody's budget. I personally don't feel good about that. So that's why I recommended what I recommended to Kim. And that's kind of what I decided to use in this video. So yeah, I hope that that helps some of you ladies who maybe need to bump up the makeup wearableness for work. So yeah, I will talk to you guys next video. Bye.